Ryan, Ian was having a chuckle about your tan, and
Yeah.
we should give you a nudge about it. So here's your nudge.
Appreciate it. Yeah, he's always got jokes. No, it's actually interesting. We moved our college meetings a week ahead of the Super Bowl to really create a little bit of space for my entire staff to get away, get some clarity, so that when we get back from here, we're ready to roll and have a clear mind to make some tough decisions. So, he was supposed to be on that break, but he had other plans and got a job, so I'm happy for him.
Ryan, among the tough decisions, the salary cap math would seem to indicate that you have a decision to make on Tremaine Edmonds with his contract. Where does that stand right now?
Yeah, we got to make. There's a couple guys we got to make decisions on. If that's trade, release. There's a lot of different options a few options that we could go down to create some space. But like I said before, this is a unique situation where we've got our roster in a position where we have a lot of talented players, a lot of guys getting paid well, and that puts some constraints on the cap. So we got to make some tough decisions. And like I said, when we win games, you create these relationships. There's leadership guys, or guys that were captains that mean a lot to our organization. But when you kind of put in a corner, that's what the league's meant to do.
Is there a limit how many restructures you can do to push things kind of down the line a little bit?
I don't know about limited amount of restructures, but there's There's philosophical things that we believe in terms of not getting to this place where we're kicking the can down the road on a bunch of guys, and then at some point you got to pay that bill, and you don't want that to be the reason why you're not flexible and able to do unique things or take advantage of opportunities with your roster.
In the past, when you've cut a veteran, you've done so before the combine, kind of out of, to give them time. Is this kind of new schedule that you guys are on, can we read into that as to why that wasn't necessarily the case this time around if you do end up cutting a guy?
I wouldn't read too much into it. We just got to go through the process to see what avenue, or what path we want to go down.
Ryan, what was your big picture evaluation of DJ's season?
Yeah, I think, early on you have a lot of new things going on, and there's a lot of, there's one football and there's a lot more talented targets, and how that all works out, where they are, I can't tell you where everybody is in different progressions. So I know at some points it was slow. Some moments towards the end of the season was amazing. I think when you looked at the production across the board of all of our guys, it came out to be pretty even in terms of targets and yards. So I thought he did a really good job. I know Ben was very intentional with getting him the football to create opportunities. But when you have Colson start to pop up, Luther, Cole, Rome was going through different things throughout the season, but started hot early. So unique situation overall, but I know we were happy with him throughout the entire season.
What was your tone with him in the exit interview, just setting him up for what he can expect in the future?
Yeah, very similar to the other guys. Went through the season. The exit meeting, we also want to know what they need from us to help them be successful. But real positive conversation with DJ and really everybody on the roster.
Ryan, any of those question marks, those gray areas on the roster settled in your mind as guys you want to keep going forward, such as Ahmed or Swift?
Yeah, we're working through that. I feel pretty good about the guys you just mentioned being here. But again, there's a lot more calls coming in on interest on some of these guys. So we have to kind of sequence that out to see how it impacts our team. I talked about a little bit of cost of replacement. So what does that look like? So really, this week is kind of, we know what we need to do, but any new, unique opportunities that might pop up are usually going to pop up here. And then we'll get back and kind of sort it all out and make decisions. But feel pretty good about those guys.
Ryan, flexibility is a word you've been using a lot today.
Yeah.
How do you balance that with your roster that feels like it's ready to win, making a go for it move, trading for a big player, sending draft picks away? How do you balance that with the future flexibility?
Yeah, it's just the sustainability. How can we stay flexible and it's both end thinking. How can we be successful? Take advantage of, we talk about this quarterback window. Take advantage of that, but also set ourselves up to continue to win. I mentioned this earlier in one of the interviews. I got a head coach that wants to sustain success and win for a long period of time. I have a quarterback who continues to progress, and he wants to be one of the best to ever do it and win a lot of championships. So with that model, we have to be very conscious of how we put this team together, but we want to win championships now. We want to be able to have that flexibility to continue to win down the road too.
So you want to do both, but if you had to rank them between winning now versus winning over the next 5 years, like which one is it just in a vacuum where you lay?
I wish I lived in a vacuum. But yeah, you got to win the first one, right? Like you got to get started. But what are you willing to sacrifice to do that? Like there's some things that you can do to, and you all have seen that before I got here. You can accelerate it, and then after it goes away pretty quick. So we got to balance both. Unfortunately, that's not reality in terms of, picking it and do you want to go all in and hurt yourself down the road. Our mindset is to do both, win now, and then be able to sustain that and have flexibility. It's not gonna be easy, you know what I mean? Like I can guarantee you, we've been really good with dead money. At some point, that's gonna go up too, because that's just the nature of playing this out over a long period of time and having tough decisions to make.
We've routinely been told that tight end is one of the harder positions for guys to transition to from college to the NFL, but like Colson,
Yeah.
a ton of success. Tyler Warren had a ton of success. Like,
Yeah.
do you think there's a greater positional emphasis on drafting a first-round tight end? I mean, considering how it worked out for you guys last year.
I think the impact that they have on a quarterback is key there. Obviously, I think it's unique to have two guys like that start hot like that. I think how they were raised, their foundation in college, their intelligence played a part in that. And, one was with a younger quarterback. The other one was someone a little bit more experienced that was quick to get the ball out. I think the coordinators do a really good job, using that position to manipulate defenses too and create mismatches, especially out of 12 personnel. So really fortunate to have Colson. I think he elevates our entire team and helps Caleb.
I know you touched on the offensive tackle, like what Dan asked you about that in there. And I think you said that you don't expect Ozzie like deep into the season. You talked to us at exit interviews. Are you expecting him to come back? Like, I mean, is that an injury that is, like, how significant is that for him in the rehab process?
Yeah, he'll miss most of the year, but we expect him to come back and heal from it. I mean, there's a plan in place. I can't get into like timelines or anything like that. I just don't know. But yeah, we expect him to be back and be himself. But pretty significant injuries that he's got to get through. But in terms of affecting his overall career or next year, I don't see that being an issue.
You talked about best player available, but when you're at 25 and you're going to stack your board the way you stack it, no matter what, does anything shift when you're at the bottom of the round versus when you're like, can you take a risk on a guy because you gamble on the ceiling, or is it all the same?
Yeah, I think if you look at some late round action and historically, I think you want to just stay disciplined with taking good football players. I think you can take a little risk, and I mentioned this before. You can go get a flashy guy that may not be the wiring in terms of culture fit isn't the right thing to do. So you take a chance there, or it's flashes, or they're a young player and you're going to project this crazy growth. I think taking good football players at 25 and not, I think back to the Steelers, I think back to the Ravens and some of these teams that just were able to put really good rosters together and draft well late. Those guys aren't sexy, like they're just good, hardy football players. So that's what we're going to focus on. I think that'll put our team in the best position to be successful.
Ryan, to clarify, do you keep up, it's kind of off the top a little bit, do you keep up with the stadium stuff? Do you have people texting you, asking you if the Bears are moving to Indiana? How much do you keep up with it?
I have enough to worry about with the football team. Yes, text, random calls of people I don't know how they have my number, to being in Grand Cayman and bumping up in the pool and start telling me about where they want the stadium. So, yeah, I got a lot of faith in Kevin and George to get that done and do what's best for the organization, our fan base. There's a lot of pieces involved with that, but like I said, I got enough to worry about with the roster.
Is that your stock answer when people come up to you at the pool and ask you?
No, I don't say much at all.
Brian, what attributes are you looking for from some of these defensive line prospects?
Yeah, motor, relentlessness, violence. explosive. And then I just want to continue to improve our defensive speed. I think we saw that a little bit Green Bay and some of the games down the stretch. I want to improve our defensive speed overall. So those are some of the factors that we're
Ryan,
looking
what
at.
do you
Last
see as
year
a
you
path
had-
for Caleb in the efficiency jump that you want to see this next season with him?
Yeah, and I'm not trying to dodge a question. I think asking Ben that will probably give you the
Okay.
best answer to it. Yeah, I'll stay with that. Yeah.
I know you can't talk
When
about,
you guys were here, you were still getting to know Ben. You
Mhm.
felt like you had a clear vision, but now a year later,
Mhm.
how much more confident are you in just your processes through this part of the season?
Yeah, really confident. We've had a lot of conversations. He's even popped into our draft meetings this past go-around where last year putting the staff, he wasn't able to do that as much. So earlier jump on that. And then through conversations with him and DA, just in terms of what they're looking for to create an advantage or to improve a unit, the style that we want to play, the more that we talk and go through and watch guys and have conversations about our own guys, the more clarity we get from what they want. And as a front office, that's all we want to give them is guys that they want to work with.
to
What's
clarify,
your
Ryan,
evaluation,
with
what's your,
Dio and Shamar,
Mhm.
two guys who could you just give us kind of a sense of your outlook for both those guys, just in terms of both their injury and then what you kind of saw from them during the season?
Yeah, so Dio was a little bit unfortunate. He was the guy we brought in that we wanted to work inside and outside. And due to some of the injuries, 'cause I thought Book was coming along in training camp. He had, I think, a knee injury at some point in the beginning. So we really didn't get to flex as much as we wanted to try to improve our rush from the interior and exterior. But he was coming along. There was a lot of positive things there, both in the run, which I know we don't talk much about, but getting the third down is a huge deal. So I thought he was coming along, and we're looking forward to him coming back. I know he's training in his return to play protocol. Shamar was another one, has flex, that we were trying to find out where he was going to be the most productive, and it was coming along at end, which was great because he would have versatility inside and outside, which is what we want. And so it was a bummer, kind of a freak deal with him and his knee. Both guys are on track, training hard. Again, I'm hoping in the spring, but if anything, training camp will be the spot where they come back. And there's a process through that of playing the game and getting comfortable and healthy that we'll go through, but I expect both those guys to help us next year.
but what's your evaluation of the left tackle class? And do you think there's a starter to be had at 25?
Yeah, I think the tackle position is pretty healthy this year. Not sure. Sometimes, there's years where there's a run where they're all gone. There's a lot of them. Sometimes there's a couple guys that are sitting there waiting for you. So we'll see how it shakes out. But yeah, that's a unique situation for us. Trying to determine how to fill that space with what we have. I know, we want to keep Darnell and Jonah together. We got a really cool right side. So then there's draft, there's free agency. What's the cost of free agency? There's re-signing your own with Braxton, and then you have Theo's development. We've yet to put a whole offseason together with Karan, but he showed promise at times. So a lot of different factors that are a little bit difficult to figure out.
Right.
to
Last
clarify,
year-
and
with the
to
on the
clarify on
table-
DJ, is he one of the players you feel good about being here in 2026, or do you have to entertain some different conversations just because of his contract and your salary cap?
Yeah, I gotta have conversations and kind of see what, like I said, the best combination of players we can bring in. We want him here. We think highly of him. He's a great teammate. He's been productive pretty consistently over the last couple of years that he's been here. So I have nothing but great things to say about him. But this is the time now where we have to look at all the different scenarios and see what can allow us to put the best team out there. And I've talked about this before. It's just, there's relationships there. There's a lot there that make it really, really difficult. But he's a guy we want here, but we have to look at all different scenarios.
Would it be on the table for you guys to, at left tackle with Tooney as a longer-term solution, or was that only something you would do in a pinch?
I would say only in a pinch. We like him at left guard. That's where we like him to play next year.
Ryan, soft tissue injuries ended up impacting your season quite a bit. I'm
Yeah.
just curious, do you view those as more of an individual basis thing, or is there something organizationally that you guys are attacking this all season?
Yeah, so we look at both from the individual standpoint. how they walked into the injury. We also look at it from our performance team, sports science, digging into any things that we can do to change to help. I do think the one factor no one's really talked about was last year was unique in the sense that we had the first week, our first bye week was in week 5, and then we had Friday games, we had Saturday games, Sunday games. We never really had a Thursday game. If you go back to a couple years ago, there's like a really sweet setup that we had was Thursday in the first quarter, Thursday in the second quarter, bye week, the last possible weekend. It was the most healthy team that we had. So I think a little bit of a schedule, a little bit is, you do have a new staff, guys are trying to prove themselves. The output is way higher, which you do try to manage through your sports science. But to kind of sum it up, we look through it from a team perspective, what can we do better? But we have to look at all the factors that could have led to it too, because, just resulting, we don't want to, create some chaos and redo everything, because we might be doing the right thing. It just was the scenario and the environment in terms of the schedule might have been a little bit
Right,
off.
just a couple days after the season.
Last one, Dan.
Ben was really emphatic about saying, we're back at square one, we're back
Yeah.
at the bottom. What do you
Yeah.
think was the significance of being so quick and emphatic with that message?
Yeah, just look across the league in the last, forever. The moment you get comfortable and think you can take success from one year and just apply it to the next, you can be in for a rude awakening. The mindset that we have to have is starting fresh, rebuilding the foundation that we had, and then improving where we need to improve, and specifically like where our struggles are. If we have that mindset, we'll be good. If the mindset is we'll be good just because we're good last year, I think you're setting yourself up for failure. The work that the guys put in, our coaching put in, our front office, our whole organization, we have to really exceed that to be even better than what we were last year. There's going to be challenges. I think I said it a few years ago. Something will happen that we're not planning for, that we have to adjust and adapt to. Sometimes you're healthy most of the season, sometimes you're injured, how you adapt to that. So every season's unique, and I think what Ben was doing was establishing the mindset of we got to go back to work in order to get to where we need to go.
Awesome, thank you
Cool.
guys.
Yep.
Okay, let's start with this. I know what everyone's thinking. Does Caleb have NBA aspirations? And the answer is no. I think football is his calling. Did you see the three-point contest?
Did you feel better? Were you worried?
Well, I sent him
Time situation?
I sent him a meme of a guy just missing left and right, like before. And then when it actually happened, I felt bad. I was like, whoops. Spoke that one into existence, didn't I? So, anyways, let's open it up, guys.
70%, I think, on it.
Yeah. He did. Yeah, it was. Thanks, Jason. Thanks for the reminder.
So at the end of the season, you were pretty intentional about saying, nothing carries over. We are starting afresh. Why was it so important to you to get that message out there loud and clear?
Yeah, well, we fell short of our ultimate goal, which was to win the championship. And so the biggest thing is we don't confuse the, postseason victory or, exceeding expectations from outside of the building. That is okay to be complacent. It's not. It's not. We didn't do enough. And so we got to do more. We got to give more than what we gave a year ago. Coaching staff, players, everyone in that building, we have to do a little bit more. And so when you look at it that way, yeah, we are back to ground zero, and we got to continue to build on this thing. Now, does that mean when we come back in the spring that we're not going to be further along offensively or defensively than we were the previous spring? No, that's not what that means. But yet, it does help frame our mindset that we are going to have to give more.
Ben, how did you assess the defensive line, and what attributes are you looking to bring into the building, whether it's through the draft or free agency?
Yeah, well, we're still going through that process right now. Just free agency, there's some guys out there that we feel like could help us out. We certainly feel good about some of the guys that we currently have in the building, that they'll continue to ascend and take the coaching that DA and the defensive staff are providing for them. But for us to take the next step as a defense, we do need to pressure the quarterback at a more consistent clip. And so that is a point of emphasis for us. I do think this draft does have some guys that could possibly help us out in that regard. But that'll be something that we got to look at and it will be a point of emphasis when we come back in the springtime, just how do we increase our get off to where we can put more pressure on the queue.
Ryan has
You
come
were-
here before and has talked about like building from the inside out on the D-line. Is that still the priority, or do you think like edge is a bigger priority with this class? How do you see it?
Yeah, we just need good football players all across the board, and so as far as I'm concerned, I don't mind so much if that's interior rush. Oh, sure, we'll take it. If that's the guy that's on the edge fits the bill, sure, we'll take that as well. But I'm not going to pigeonhole us into saying that we have to build this roster. Ryan's not going to do the same thing either. We just want to find some really good football players that love to play the game, that love to compete, that want to win football games, and we'll figure it out from there.
What are the advantages Caleb has being in the offseason in his second year with you in terms of knowing what you want? And also, how much growth can be made because, it's not new anymore. It's, focusing in, I guess.
Yeah, well, I mean, we saw enormous growth over the course of the season. I keep going back to what 7-on-7 looked like at the end of the year versus what it looked like to start the year. A drill as simple as that, and yet you see him look so much more comfortable going through some of those same plays. A lot of it was like riding the bike for the first time with some of these concepts. You just hadn't seen it, and you get thrown a different coverage each and every time. Now you can accelerate your vision a little bit more, and that's what he's learned to do. And that's where I'm really confident the direction he's going. I'm excited for him. I think he's going to be able to look at some of these cut-ups from the self-scout and look at what he could have done a little bit better. I think what's most encouraging to me is something happened at the end of the year where I showed him one thing on tape and didn't even think it would come up in the next game, and yet it did. And then he threw the ball to the exact spot that I would have wanted him to throw the ball to. Now, the result of the play wasn't what we wanted to for other reasons, and yet something as simple as that, I'm like, holy cow, if this guy can take one little nugget that we talked about the week prior and we really weren't emphasizing, and yet be able to apply that real time in a game, man, he's really going to ascend quickly. And so I'm looking forward to it. I really do think this next offseason we'll see significant strides.
Ben, as you push for greater efficiency from him, what's the next step for him in becoming more efficient at the position?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think there's no question that there'll be some throws last year that he needs to complete or give a more catchable ball at a higher rate, and he'll be the first one to tell you that. We as a coaching staff take a lot of pride in trying to get the primary guy open, and if we are able to do that, he's going to come through and he's going to make that throw. And then if we can't do that for him from a coaching perspective or a play calling perspective, then he makes us right, and that's where his magical talent, can be the ultimate eraser for us and fixer. So it's the balance between the two, and like I said, I'm looking forward to mechanically. He was learning some different things with his footwork. It actually looked more comfortable to him than I would have thought year one, and yet I really think a full off season of really drilling that down home is going to help him be more accurate here going forward.
How much did he change you as a play caller? Maybe not just as a play caller, but also like setting up a game plan throughout the week?
Yeah, significantly. I mean, everything you do is driven by the players that you have, and so not just him, but all of our perimeter players, our running backs, our O-line. I think about plays with them in mind, certainly, and so it's all the above. You don't want to put the onus on just one guy to where he's got to carry the burden for the entire offense the course of the game. You do want them to be able to know when their number's called, hey, we really need you to come through in this moment because this is where you got the big hat. You got to we need you on this, and I think the guys throughout the offense, they answered the bell in that regard.
Ben, with DJ Moore, his name is out there as kind of having a little bit of an uncertain future. We know the statistics that he had. What was his value to your offense this past season?
Yeah, it was immense. He probably knew all the roles of the receivers better than anybody else we had in that room. X, Z, F, it really didn't matter. He was the guy we knew we could count on. If guys go down, he could step in. there really wasn't anything we'd shy away from in terms of the route tree that he could or could not do. And so I feel like the versatility is something that screams at you, the intelligence screams at you, and then as Ryan alluded to in our last press conference, just the toughness, the durability. When you talk about 17-plus game season, that's where a player like that is really, really valuable.
Ben, how difficult was it to pick those team among the candidates that you had, particularly?
Say it again.
How difficult was it for you to pick an offensive coordinator among the candidates that you had on staff, and what drew you to press stage?
Yeah, no, I think, let me start by saying this. You know, you lose two really good coaches in Eric Bieniemy and Declan Doyle. I can't say enough about either one of those two guys and the contributions that they made last year in their own way. I think we've been very, very much a proponent of wanting guys to move on, and if they find another role or another job that they feel like they want to take a shot at, then I'm all for it. And you know, I think both those teams, both Kansas City and Baltimore, are getting two really phenomenal people and football coaches. But when it comes to replacing them, I felt strongly about Eric Stoodsville. He's a guy I've worked with in the past. I think he'll do a great job in our running back room and bring some different things to the table. For offensive coordinator, yeah, we went around and we interviewed outside of the building. Certainly we have a number of guys in the building that I feel very strongly about as well, not just press. I think when you put together a staff, that's really what you want to do, is you want to see, hey, can I picture the young coaches becoming position coaches? Can I picture some of the position coaches becoming coordinators, and then possibly even head coaches one day? And I believe we've got some guys that fit that mold on really both sides of the ball. And so I'm fortunate to have that on this staff. Press in particular was a guy that checked all the boxes of what I was looking for. He did a phenomenal job last year. He's very smart, very detailed. Did some things behind the scenes that people probably don't realize, and yet I know he's got the respect of these players.
What are the biggest things you need from your OC as the play caller? What do you want from your OC?
Well, yeah, I'm not in every single staff meeting. I'm not in every single offensive meeting with the players. I'm in as many of them that I can attend that time allows, and so it's just the understanding that nothing skips a beat when I have to leave the room. And you know, Press has been there. He's done that. That's the good thing about it. And I hold him in really high regard. He's done a phenomenal job in the role last year as pass game coordinator, and I've got nothing but immense confidence that he'll do a great job here as a coordinator as well.
We talked to Ryan about the balance of the short-term versus long-term roster construction and some of the salary cap situations. From just your coaching standpoint, I know Ryan handles a lot of that, but how do you look at it? How do you kind of approach this offseason and the decisions that you made when you're obviously, you want to win now, but you also want to think about the long term as well?
Yeah, no, I think that's a balancing act, and that's where Ryan and Matt Feinstein, Jeff King, those guys, they do a great job keeping the big picture in mind of what we're trying to do, short term and long term, and balancing act. And so you might have an off the wall idea, and you kind of got to talk it through of what the consequences might be if you went down that road. And so that's this time of year. You know, you're trying to, as I've been saying all day long, trying to accumulate the best 90-man roster you possibly can. We need to be as competitive as it's ever been so that we take the next step. And I know Ryan and I see our current roster, the guys that are under contract, very much in the same lens, and we're totally committed to whatever it takes to get better.
And what did you take away from
Last
watching,
one here, Jason.
What did you take away from watching Seattle this year? Ryan talked a year ago about watching Philadelphia and how they had waves of defensive linemen coming in. Was there anything from Seattle that stood out to you as you kind of track the way the league is going and what you're up against?
Yeah, well, I mean, I've had a lot of respect for that particular defensive philosophy for a long time. You know, back Baltimore to, I know he was at Michigan for a little bit, but I got to see it up close and personal, and I think he does a heck of a job. You know, he's a really good play caller on the defensive side of the ball. Anytime you're able to stop the run, playing too high defense, I think you got something good going, and yet they were still able to rush the quarterback with only 4 as well. And so I think they did a great job. You know, John Snyder has done a great job with that roster. I haven't gone back and watched that particular game, but from afar, immense amount of respect for what they did this year.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
You know, you told Caleb to get away from football. Maybe this basketball things are.
I think it's time to come on back now.